Can anybody hear me? Said, I would want you to send me the link directly, because if you are sending to GitHub, to Google Classroom, that means every other person will be sending it there. But to make it easier, it would be better you just send me the link directly, or you drop it in the project topic. So that way, whenever I want to review your project, I will just see it. Now, but Google Classroom is fine, but I may not be looking at Google Classroom at this point, because it's your personal project. It's not a group work, unless I had instructed that everybody should submit their own to Google Classroom. So I will go to Google Classroom and get it from everybody. But no, it's a personal project. You work on your project. You can send it to me personally, or you drop it in the project topic. So any questions, concerns, anything at all?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead.
sir, actually, I'm working on food delivery system.
Okay.
So, my question goes like this: concerning how to like link maybe the menu schema with the other schema. I'm kind of a bit confused. Like, how do we link in such a way that maybe when you want to make an order for the list of items you want? I'm confused with that area. Then
Uh,
also the validate token. The validate token. I was thinking, are we going to add it in every endpoint, specific endpoint?
no. I clicked it wrong. Okay. I'm trying to open up your project so that I know how to answer your question. But let me
Okay.
start with the second question. The validate token. As a backend developer, your selling point, like what makes you a better developer, what you can actually comfortably talk about to any client, anybody you want to work with. You can even just walk up to anybody or write to them, maybe on LinkedIn or personally, or walk into their office and pitch yourself to them. The selling point is validation. The selling point is validation. It's very, very important. I'm looking for food. So validation is very important. As a matter of fact, you can have up to 20, 30, so many validations. The most important validation is that everybody must be logged in. That is very, very important. Everybody must be logged in. So there is no way you are going to be building, if you're pitching your idea to anybody, maybe say LNG, and I remember one time LNG was going to have they wanted to mobilize, like say empowerment, and they wanted to there'll be a form of registration, and what they want is the students should not be able to record to sign up more than once. They want to know exactly those who have signed up before, and they don't want it to be more than once. So that is your selling point as a back-end developer. Validations. Now, every other thing can be wrong, but validation should never be wrong. And when I mean validation, I don't just mean one validation. There will be so many validations. When you are working on the back end, before you do one thing, start thinking of how to validate it. As a matter of fact, think from the devil's perspective, meaning if I want to hack this backend, if I want to do something wrong to this backend, if I want to manipulate this backend, how will I do it? Where will I come from? So you now, as you are thinking in that direction, you'll be doing validations to outsmart all those acts. Now, the truth is, nobody is there to spoil what you are building or hack your backend and so on and so forth. No. But if you are working in a company, be rest assured that that company is going to grow. And while they are growing, there are people who wants to get the idea behind what they are doing. They want to know how they are doing it. That's one set of people. There are people who also want to do the same thing you are doing, but they can't do it until they bring you down. That's another idea. There are other persons who just want to, for no reason, actually no reason, just ruin what you are doing. So validation is very, very important. But I can't mention all of them. Validate what they are sending. Validate who's logged it in. Validate whether they are registered on the account. Validate every single thing. Validation is your selling point. So for the food delivery system, can you come again with your question?
Okay, yes. I was saying something concerning the menu schema, the order schema, and also
The
the
main
restaurant schema.
the main
Oh,
schema. What do you mean by main schema?
menu.
Menu schema. Okay. Okay. Now there are in the. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Here there will be two schemas: the menu and the restaurant schema. Every restaurant we have a menu, is it not? Every restaurant
Yes,
we have a menu. Every restaurant we have a menu. So what you should be doing is this: when you are creating a restaurant, you will create an array as one of the keys in the schema, and that key will be called menu. But what it will carry will be the ID of any menu that is created.
okay.
So,
Like
meaning
for the
that
menu schema.
for the restaurant schema, the
Okay,
restaurant is going to have a key in the schema called menu. And that will be either menu or menus, because it can be more than one menus. So it's going to be an array that anytime you create a menu, you tell yourself which menu or which restaurant owns this menu. So that means to create menu, restaurant ID is required. To create a menu, restaurant ID is required. You need to know the restaurant that owns that menu. So when they send you the restaurant ID, you use that ID to find the restaurant. If the restaurant exists, you go ahead and create the menu, then push that menu ID into the restaurant and save the restaurant. That's one way. The second way is this: you save all the IDs relating to the all the menu IDs relating to a particular restaurant in that restaurant, and for every menu, you save the restaurant ID in the menu as a secondary key. That way, we can find all the menus belonging to one particular restaurant by the menu ID, or we populate the restaurant and also populate the menus there. Like, there's so many ways to do it, but the thing is, every menu you create, you need to know the restaurant that owns that menu. And the only way to know is that they will send you the restaurant ID. You use the restaurant ID to find a restaurant. If the restaurant exists, you go ahead and create the menu. When you create the menu, you'll be getting an ID. You use that ID and you push it to the restaurant you found and save it. That's it. So that's how you create your menu for every restaurant. So every restaurant must have a menu. And I will say this: none of this project is inferior to anyone, and none of it is superior to anyone. And like I said before, it's not like you will know everything from the go. The same thing is applicable to the certificate project I gave you. The certificate project I gave you, you know how to do validations, you know how to send email. But the only thing I think you don't know how to do is to generate the certificate. So you could start by getting sure that the users log in. They log in, they will send you their token and their emails. When they send you their token and their email, you validate the token. When you validate the token, you use the email to find them on the system. When you find them, you send them an empty email first before generating certificates. So you send them an empty email first. So you see that the whole process is going through from being able to validate their token, finding them on the database, and sending them an email. You see that that process is working. Then you come back to figure out how to generate certificate when you find the user. That would be the tough task. So here now, your tough task here should be how to push menu ID into a restaurant array. That's it. When you create a menu, you want to push the ID into the restaurant, and also you want to also create the menu with the restaurant ID. So it means that for every menu you create, there should be an ID. There should be an ID of the restaurant that owns that menu. So when you create a menu, you're also creating one key, like the restaurant ID that owns that menu. And that's also for the other, that's a different, and this one is pretty straightforward. It's simple. So this is the challenging part, and it shouldn't be much. So any other question, Steven?
No, for now. If there is, I'll get back to you, sir.
Yeah, we need to use Joshua. We need to use the MVC for our project. Now, the thing about building projects is not just that you know how to do it, but you know how to do it the right way. You're doing it the right way. You can just build your APIs anyhow and it will work. But sometimes you want to show that you know how to do this thing and you know how to do it well. So that is where the MVC rule comes in. You should do it the MVC rule. We might review the MVC rule if we have time. So what I will do is I'll just build an API the normal way and then break it into pieces to push it and become till it becomes and follow the MVC rule like that. So how can we link the user ID in the user schema to the recipe schema as the auto ID and the recipe? And this this is recipe sharing. So let me check for recipe sharing. Recipe. This is recipe sharing. So for the recipe sharing, there's a place it's asking for auto ID here. You're not pushing anything now. All you are simply doing is that when you are trying to create a recipe, one of the keys they will send you should be the user ID. So it is either you are calling it user ID or you are calling it the auto ID. When you are trying to perform CRUD to create a recipe, when you are trying to create a recipe in the schema, after the title, the ingredients, the instruction, the next key should either be called auto ID or the user ID. Now that's just it. So you don't have to call it two. You call it either the user ID or the auto ID. So as you are sending the title, sending the ingredients, sending whatever you want to send, also send the auto ID or the user ID like that, and then you save it. It's pretty straightforward. All right. Any other question before we continue? Today's class may not be much. Reason being, I think I will allow
I
you.
have a
Yeah, go
question.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
For the food
Food
delivery system. So under
delivery.
yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Under the order,
Okay.
yes, order management. So where we
Yeah.
have that, we create an order schema, then include the user ID and restaurant ID. Are we not going to include menu ID too, sir?
The thing here is this: when they order an item, in the menu, you'll be creating uh, each item is a menu. You might want to do it that way. For example, you want to create your menu, you can say in your menu we have chicken. Chicken is one. We have what is it called? Burger. Burger is two. We have you can create it individually like that while you are creating the menu, or you create all of them together as one. We have chicken, we have burger, we have this. So they are sending you the different item names. So, but for here, they're asking you to create it individually. So if you have chicken, that's the name of the food. You describe the chicken. You tell us the price of the chicken and whether it is available or not available. That's the first item. So when you are trying to order here, the ordered item here now depends on what you want it to be. If you want the ordered item to be the ID of the entire menu, now know that the menu contains both the name, the description, the price, and the availability. That's what it contains. So now the ordered items here are going to be more than one. So that means it is an array. So it is either you are putting all the names of the item ordered or all the IDs of the menu ordered. Now, if you are using ID, it means you created your menus individually. Number one is chicken. The next menu is burger. The next menu is salad, just like that.
I used an array, sir.
For this one,
No, for the menu, I used an array, like for the object IDs.
for the menu, an array, how?
Like to receive the object ID when you create the menu. To receive the object ID of the menu items in the restaurant, like when you want to push it after creating a menu.
Now, the ID of the menu will be in the restaurant here. All of them will be here. That's correct. Now, but by default, when you create an item or a menu, you definitely have an ID with it. So you should have, while you are performing CRUD for restaurant, you should also perform CRUD for menu. Meaning I should be able to find one menu and also find all the menus. So if I can find one menu, it means I'm using the ID of the menu to find it. If I can find all the menus, it means that I am going to see the ID as one of the keys returned for all the menus. So when you are creating menu here, the easiest way to go about it is create them individually. You enter the name of the item, for example, chicken. You describe the chicken. It is a roasted chicken. You put the price is 3,000 naira. Availability, you say yes or true or false. And then you go ahead and push that ID to the restaurant. Move to the second one. You say the ice cream is a ice cream. That is 100 and it is available. You save it and you put the ID to the restaurant. So I want to find a restaurant. I can find a restaurant, and inside restaurant, I should see an array that contains all the IDs of the menu created for that is one. Decide to go out all the menus to find all menus. It is not limited to any restaurant, but several menus, not restricted to a single restaurant. So this idea here can be used more than one business. For example, if you see this kind of system, fast food and Jaro use it, name them. Mr. Biggs can use it. All of them can use it. Create their restaurant and be adding menus to it. And the menus will be added to their restaurant. And also, all the menus they create will have the ID of their restaurant. So when users come to this particular thing you've built, users can either decide to see all the restaurants. When they see all the restaurants, they can then decide to pick a menu from one particular restaurant. Or some users can say, let me go and check all the menus. It doesn't matter the restaurant that owns it. If I see something I like, I just order it. It doesn't matter where it's going to be coming from. So that is the idea behind having all the IDs in an array inside the restaurant, and also having a restaurant ID attached to every menu that is created. Like I said, this is real life. You can build this project as a real life and you sell it as a project. You can. That is if you build it very well. So you can build it very well and it can be used. It can be used like this. So the order here, the ordered items, if your menus are created individually, which is what I advise, there should be an array of all the menus ordered. That's it. That's what the ordered items should be. So the name here is plural item. So it's more than one. Now, even if the person ordered just one, then it can be just one ID. But if it's more than two, then to be two IDs in that array. So with that IDs, we know the menus that you actually ordered. And each menu has the restaurant ID attached to it. So we can actually find the restaurant that owns that particular menu also. So, but like I said, it might be tough on you, but it's not tough on me because I can build this. Yeah, but it shouldn't be tough on you. If you, the moment you can build this, it's you. Yeah, go ahead.
So the ordered items is the IDs of the menus.
Yeah, that is if your menus are created as a single items.
Okay.
Yeah, then the ordered items here should be the ID of the menus.
Okay.
For the categories, are we the one that will generate categories? Now, yes, you should generate categories. You can group them based on the categories you want. I think this is for recipes. Yes. So if you want to create recipes for rice, the categories will be rice. It doesn't matter whether it is fried rice, jollof rice, coconut rice, or anything. So the category of that recipe will be for rice. If you want to create recipes for soup, the category will be soup. Or we call it something else. You just know that it's a group name. So categories is simply a group name like that. Yeah, Steven is tough. It's very tough. It's not that easy in the real world, but the moment you do one of these projects, you can do any other one. That's one thing with backend. The moment you understand one aspect, you can use it in other aspects like that. So, but I hope you can be able to deliver this project. Now, if you deliver this project, food delivery, you can work in Genesis. Just put in your application resume in Genesis, or what is it called, Kilimanjaro. Now, if they don't have it, you can look out for there are people who are currently working on food delivery systems. I can't remember anyone right now. Put in application in companies that are building stuff like this. Now, with knowledge of what you have here, you will pass any interview that has to do with a food delivery system or relate with food. Not just for food, even for boat. If it has to do with boat, order of ride, ordering anything at all, delivery of anything, any application that does something like that, you can do it. Yeah, exactly. So, any other question before? Some persons are not here. Some persons say they'll be late. I understand. I don't intend to teach anything new except for one thing, which is very, 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 very important. So, if there is no question, please drop a thumbs up so that I know that we can continue. If there is no question, drop a thumbs up. For the sake of those who are not here, we may not do much, but we actually do something because it's very important. Only one?
I have a question, please.
Yeah, go ahead. Feel free. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay, sorry. Am I loud enough? Yeah, my question comes
Go ahead.
under our schema.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening to you. Can he hear me? Oh, I was supposed to close that. Who's speaking? Can you hear me? Ayo.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you now. Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This my question is under our schemas. There are times, for example, we want to list the items on our schema. Say first name. There are times where we put required. What I
Yeah.
want to ask is that required. I notice we always have to validate. What if we don't validate? Will that require mean anything? Like, will it affect anything?
Okay. Yes. That required is what we call the mongoose validation, like the database validating itself. So when you add required to any key, if you are trying to save that details, for example, first name, and there is no detail or data attached to first name, the database will not save it because you said it is required. So whether you validate or you don't validate, the database will not save first name without first name. I don't know if that makes sense. So adding required there is like a database validation, but you don't have to depend on this validation. You should do your own validation. Although this will not allow it to get saved without the first name, like that. So the logout API, that's not, the logout API doesn't really do much. It doesn't. What the logout API simply does is it destroys any refresh token you have created, like it deletes it wherever you saved it. So if you saved it in the cookie, if you saved it in session, you save it in local storage, anywhere you saved it, the logout will just delete it. But it depends on the application you are working with. It depends on the application you're working with. Now, some application logout is handled on the front end. Other application logout is handled on the back end. So, but you shouldn't worry much about that. The most important one is being able to register and also log in. Then you can talk about how to. Now, forgot password is very simple. Forgot password is they are sending you their emails. When they send you their email, you use that email, you find whether they have an account. If they have an account, you send them a link to your website or maybe to a page, a particular page where they will enter new password. That's what forgot password does. The reset password is the same thing. They are sending you their new password and they are sending you a token. You validate the token. If the token is correct, you just update their old password to be their new password. And that's all. So these other ones are pretty straightforward. The most important one is the register and the login, like that. So logout, we may try it if there is time, but I don't want to bring that to you. There's already a lot you have to do. The most important thing I want to bring to you is what I want to talk about now. Cause when you are building a back end, you cannot tell whether this back end is going to be used by a mobile app. Now, of course, sometimes you will know. If you are in a project, you will know. But just know that you are building a back end that will be used by anybody. It can be front end, it can be back end, it can be dashboard, anything. It can also be Postman. Anybody can be using it. NPM JS. So the package I want to talk about is called Cause. Cause. If you build a back end, there is every possibility that nobody can connect to that back end. Nobody, even if they know the URL address, they cannot connect to it. The reason why I'm telling all of this is validation is your selling point. Just knowing how to build a project is not enough. Validation is your selling point. So you can build your backend and nobody will be able to connect to it. You can also build your backend and everybody can be able to connect to it. Everybody. You can also build your backend. Only a selected few that you mention can actually connect to it. So that is what Cause does. Cause is a middleware, the same thing like Express.json body parser. Cause is a middleware. And what it does is like a package that provides or connect to Express applications. So it's an Express middleware and it allows front end to connect to your back end. How do you use it? npm install cause. I'll just try that out. Here I'll say npm install cause. Now for you that is using Postman, okay, I need to do sudo for mine, sudo npm install cause. So if you're using Postman, you will not run into these errors because Postman will connect easily. It will. But if it is a web application built with maybe HTML or React or Vue or Angular, they will not be able to connect to your backend until you install cause, and then you have to go to your app.js, your main file, and bring in cause. Cause is equal to require cause, the cause you installed, and then come here, maybe below or on top, and say app.use cause, and then invoke it. That's all. So a lot of developers run into this error. It's a big error when it comes to cause. Now, it's a cross origin error. When you hear cross origin, it means the two environments are different. The front end is different from the back end. So the front end trying to communicate to the back end will not understand it because they are two different origins. But two back end can easily communicate to themselves because they are the same origin. Two front end, I don't know if a front end and a front end can actually communicate, I doubt, but two back end can communicate easily without cause. But a front end and a back end cannot communicate except you initialize cause. So this way, I have initialized cause, but I can actually add a terrible idea, which let's go further if we have it. Yeah. So here is another example. This is if you want to explicitly set a particular URL, option, success, and blah, blah, blah. What I was going to do was just simple, define this here and set the origin to be something like this, www.whatever-your-website-is.com. So if I do this inside this cause, this means it is only requests that are coming from here that will be listened to. Every other request will be blocked. This is when you know exactly that no other application will be calling your back end. But if you don't know, or maybe you're just testing out initially, you can just set it like this. So setting it like this, a mobile app can connect, a front end can connect, Postman can connect, anybody can connect like this. So this is called cause. So if you're working in a company, this might be one error that you and the front end will be having. It will tell you, I'm making requests and it's not going through. I'm seeing cause error, cause error, cause error, cause error. So for you as a backend, you don't need to be moved. If you initialize calls like this, then the front end should be able to connect. Now, but if the front end makes mistake and they misspell any of your endpoint. If they misspell any of your endpoint, they will see cause error and they will blame you. Now, the moment they see cause error, they will blame you and people will say you don't know what you're doing. So what you need to do, you need to set that second route that sets this endpoint does not exist. Down here, app.use, like this, and it returns a status. So this accept the request and the response. And the message will be, sorry, this endpoint does not exist. So the reason why you are putting this is so that they know that you know what you are doing. Because if you initialize cause, automatically any front end should be able to connect. But if they misspell your endpoint, they will see cause error. It will tell them that it's a cause error, but it is not a cause error. So instead of waiting for them to tell you that, you just put this function. What this function does is, if they misspell any endpoint, they will not see cause error. Rather, they will see, sorry, this endpoint does not exist. That they will know that they are the one that misspelled the endpoint. And this has to come last. So if you have more than one route, you have to put all of them at the top like that. So this is what cause error is, and it is very, very important. Do we have any question on cause? Any question? Are you serious? Can anybody hear me? So this is what I want to teach you today. And I want to know if you have any question. Now, it's very simple to initialize cause. Just install cause and initialize it like this. That's all. You don't have to do much, except they ask you to explicitly state a URL. You just come inside and add an object with an origin. The origin should be the URL that you want to allow. That's all. But you don't have to do this. You don't. Adding app to the website. I want to understand what you mean by now. If a mobile app is going to use the back end, you don't have to insist on a URL, because you know mobile apps don't use URL. So for now, this is enough. Just keep it like this. It's enough. You don't have to do anything much. But if the reason why I brought this is, if you build your backend and you deploy without initializing cause, nobody will be able to connect to it. Nobody will be able to connect to it. But if you initialize cause, then that means you are allowing connection. People can actually connect to your backend. So that being said, let's build one endpoint and convert it to use the MVC rule. One endpoint. So I will come here and I will say app dot, maybe a get or a post request. It doesn't really matter. They're all the same thing. And I'll call the endpoint example. Example will have a function that accepts the response and the request object to return a response with a status of 200 and then .json message that will say this is a test route and save it. Now this is a working endpoint. I know that it's very, very simple, but I know some of you can build an endpoint more than this. So this is it's a complete endpoint. It accepts the request and it sends a response. It's actually a GET request. So I want to test this endpoint and then convert it to use the MVC format. Convert it to use the MVC format. So I will open my Postman and change from here to here. Zoom in. Yep. Okay. And change the GET request to, I think I should have another one. Create another one. It's a GET request and it will be local host. Port what? Just a minute. Port 8081 / example. And then send the request. I get a response. This is a test route. Now you can add anything in your route. You can make it bigger, finer, however you want. But I just want to use this to show you what the MVC is. The first thing I want to do is to remove this function first. That's the first thing. So notice that here we have closing bracket and we have the curly braces. Now the closing bracket, I don't need it, so I will keep it aside. What I need is from these curly braces to where the function begins. Sorry. So from these curly braces to here where the function begins. That is what I need. So this function here that handles this request is what we call controllers. So the function that handles your request is what we call controllers. So I will cut it out with Command X. Now see, when I cut it out, this bracket is still remaining here. The bracket is still remaining here. But what I cut out was a function. So I will go to my controllers. Now, if I want, I can create a new controller, maybe a new file, and call it test controller, whatever you want to call it. If I have more than one this thing, I usually create multiple controllers. So I'll say const handle example. That will be the name of my function. And then I will save it. I'll paste this thing here. So that I have the function here. I will then export it. Module.export is equal to, I'm using this angle bracket because I want to be exporting more than one, not just one. So I can have more functions in here and I will export all of them one. So now I have this function here. The next thing I want to do is to come back and bring that function back here. So make sure you import the function. Now I have the function here, but not the function itself, but the name of the function. That is what I have here. If I still run this request, if I still run it and send, it is still working. Even though I move the function to a separate file, it is still working. Once you hit app.get, hit example, it will call this function to come and run. That's the first thing. The next thing I want to do now is my route. From here to here, I need to move it to a different file. that highlighted part from here, including the function right now, I need to move it to a different file. So what I'll do is go to my routes and create a new route. I'll call it example routes.js. Now, example route, I'll first bring in express because I want to set up express router is equal to require express. And then I'll say const router should be coming from or should be the express router, like this. So here I can then say router dot. I'll go back to my function and copy from here to here. Cut it out. Command X. And come back here and paste it here. So I just copied everything. Now make sure you import this function here also, otherwise it will not work. So import the function and save. What I want to do next is export my router. Module.export is equal to router. I'm not exporting as an object because this is the only thing I will be exporting here, the router. That's the only thing I will be exporting. But you can actually export as an object, but because it's the only thing, I don't need to export it as an object. So when you export this, the next thing you want to do is here now, you need to hook this thing up to use that route, which is this example route. So how do I do it? I'll say app.use example route, That's now you cannot get it automatically, so you need to import it manually. I'll say const example routes will be equal to require dot slash, where's my route slash example route. So this thing I've imported is what I want to put here. So if I put it here and save it and go back to try this request again and send, it is still working. Now, even though I have pieced it into 3 different parts, now there are 3 different parts. One of them is my controller, one of them is the route, and the second part, the third part is where the request enters the route. So here now, I can decide that this endpoint should have /API attached to it because currently it doesn't, and it is running because it doesn't require API. But if I want, which of course you should, you can then say before the request comes here, let all the requests have API in them. So if I save it now and then come back to try this request, it will not run again. It says, sorry, this endpoint does not exist. And that is because I need to attach /API. And if I send, now it is returning. So this is the simple idea of MVC. Sorry about your network, but this is just what MVC is about. As a matter of fact, it has actually gone further than this. Now, we have something called the service. We create a service, but you don't have to do this. It's the senior developers that do that. The service is any part in the controller function that has to interact directly with the database. For example, find one, you will move all of this and put it in the service because it interacts directly with the database. The second one might be when you want to save user details, you move it to the service because that is what we do not everybody, like I said, everybody has their own style. So your service will be any part of the controller function that interacts with your database. So we have moved, for all your endpoints. For all your endpoints, they should all follow the MVC rule. What I did here was just to show you how to convert the one you've already built. How to convert the one you've already built to follow the MVC rule. But when you are building it the first time, you need to come to your controller first, write the function, tell the function what it will do. That's the first thing you want to do. That after you build your function and tell it what to do and all of that, you come to your route. You come to your route and define what the endpoint will be, and then attach that function to that endpoint. That's the second thing. So you define the route, the name of the function, the name of the API, and then add the function to that name. Once you do that, the third thing is to come and hook it up to your app. And then you say app.use all of those routes that you've created. Now you can call it anything. Here I call it auth router. You can call it auth router, auth routes, auth whatever, but so long as it has a route in it, so that once you see it, you know that this is referring to the name of all your APIs, because that's what endpoints are. So your routes are just consisting of the name of all your APIs. And then if you want, you can attach API, which of course you should. You should attach all of them to have API like that. So that is what MVC is. You first write the function that will handle the request. You attach that function to an endpoint. And then here you have multiple endpoints. You're going to have so many endpoints. For example, people will be working on restaurant and menus. You can decide to have your restaurant and menu route in one file, or you say you have restaurant route in one file, menu route in one other file, like that. So you create restaurant, you read restaurant, you update restaurant, you delete restaurant, you create menu, you read menu, you update menu, and you delete menu. So all of them can be in one file, or you have so many different files for all of them. You just decide how you want it. And then at the end, you come to your main app. You come to your main app and then list out all the routes that the app will use. List them all out. If you have what is it called? Restaurant route, you add it here. Menu route, you add it here. Other routes, you add it here. All of your routes, you add all of them here. And this one will be your last route, for in case when they enter a route that you did not create, like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is cause, and that is revised MVC. Do we have any other question? Now, I don't want to bore you too much and stress you. If you have any challenge with your question or what you are working on, I would like to just point it out so that I address it. And also, you have opportunity to maybe, but first finish your project first. I will not advise you to start looking for any opportunity now or any job now. I should send the last route. Let me see. I think I have this on GitHub. If I try to push this, I think I will be able to push to the right repo. Git add dot git commit git push. Yeah, I've been able to push it. Now, even though I don't know the endpoint, the repo I push to, I can just find it if I go to GitHub and go to my repos. Yeah, it is cohort 2 MVC. So this is the URL. You can visit it. So, but like I said, I will not advise you to look for jobs now, but if they come your way, that's fine. But I want you to build your project first. Finish it first. It will change your idea on backend and how to build backend. Integrating Flutterwave and Paystack is not difficult. Do we have API keys? Now, as a matter of fact, if I come to this is the restaurant ID, the user ID, the ordered item. Now the ordered items are empty. You need to add the IDs here, the IDs of the menus that we are ordered. You need to add the ID, but you're doing well. You're doing absolutely very well. It's good. If you're able to complete the order, that means you've been able to create restaurant. You've also been able to create menus. So this is the last part, creating the order. That's nice. So you didn't add it very well. Check it. You'll see how to add it very well. So like we are talking about integrating Flutterwave or Paystack, all of them, whether it's Flutterwave, whether it's PayExpress, whether it's Paystack, they all follow the same format. Now, I'm telling you this because I've integrated all of them so many times. So they all follow the same format. If you learn one, let's try Flutterwave. I don't know the API key we have, but should we try Flutterwave or Paystack? I think we'll try both of them. Let's see, Paystack docs, and then Flutterwave docs. So one of your job will be integrating a payment gateway. Now, payment gateway is very simple. If you can build this project I gave you, payment gateway is simple. You're not doing much. It's the payment gateway that's handling everything. You are not doing much. So I just want to show you that the two of them are, oh my God, I deleted that one. The two of them are basically the same thing, making payment. So you click on making payment and then accepting payment. That's the first thing. Now they have different plans. You can do subscription basis like Netflix does. You're not the one handling those things. Absolutely, are not the one. So long as you can make a post request. Now, that's just the secret behind it. You are making a post request with the payload they are asking you to send. That is all. You are not doing any logic. You're not doing anything in your back end. No, you are not. You are making a post request to create transaction. You are making either a get request or a post request to validate transaction. You are making a get request to get transaction. So if you can make a post request, that's all. Now, this is Paystack. Paystack is saying, make a post request to this URL here. Your authorization should be a bearer token. Of course, I've taught you what bearer token is. So you put bearer here, and then the second part here will be your secret key, the key that you are sending. This part is not compulsory, but you can add the content type to be application.json. Then the payload should be the email of the user or the customer, the amount they want to pay. Gaskia, that's all. Once you send them this thing, they are going to send you a URL that you will redirect the users to. So they'll send you a URL, you redirect you are not the one that will do it. When they send you a response, you package the response like that and you send it to the front end. You are not doing anything. When it comes to integrating payment gateway, you are not doing anything. You are performing a post request. And the only part which is technical is the bearer token. And I have taught you bearer token. You attach the keyword bearer, and then you attach your token next to it. Like that. You send the email, you send the amount. The same thing for Flutterwave. Let's go to Flutterwave, collecting payment, and they have different, like I said, they all have different plans. They have subscription basis, wallet basis. It is none of your business. I'm looking for Flutterwave standard. Yeah, this is Flutterwave. So Flutterwave, theirs is, they have this, they are saying they've actually sent you, now Paystack will also give you this. They've actually sent you the endpoint that you need to call. You're installing Axios. Axios is making the post request. So you say await Axios.post. The endpoint you are making the request to is this endpoint. Now you need to send a payload. This is the payload they say you should send. What is in the payload? Let me just copy everything and send to you so that you'll be seeing it on your own end. So you Axios.get here, you are making a post request to this endpoint. They ask you to set this payload. This is the payload you will send. The payload should have a transaction reference where you just generate random numbers, random letters as your transaction reference. You send the amount, you send the currency. Now, these currencies, because they accept both different currencies in Africa, so it's not just Naira that Flutterwave deals in. So if you can implement for Naira, you can also implement for other currencies too. You indicate the currency. Now, this redirect URL will be coming from the front end, meaning that if this payment goes successfully, which page do you want Flutterwave to return the users back to? That's what this redirect URL is called. Then the customer details will be the customer email, their name if you want, but I don't think people add their names. People don't usually add their names when making payment. And also phone numbers. If you're able to collect their phone numbers, you can. But for all of this payment gateway, the most important thing there is the email and the amount. For something like airtime that doesn't require email, you'll be adding your company email in place of the user's email, because every payment gateway requires email and amount. Now the other ones are just, what will I put it, extra. The rest are extra, and they are doing the same thing. Authorization will be bearer and then your token. Now your token here will be your secret key. The same thing with Paystack, and they are going to send you a response. Once they send you a response, you package the response like that and send it back to the front end. That's all you're doing. There's no big deal. Now when it comes to verifying transaction, you're also going to be performing a GET request or a POST request. They're supposed to be verifying transaction. So verifying, you are just sending them the transaction ID that was returned back at the time this transaction was performed. So the front end, that page that the front end will be redirecting them to, will carry a transaction ID. So they send you that transaction ID. You carry transaction ID, and you also send it to maybe Flutterwave or Paystack. I'm looking for that particular endpoint. So when you perform this is the response you will see. This is the response they will return to you. You package a response like that, and you return it to the front end. The front end will redirect the users to this URL. Now this URL will open that page that will accept their card details, accept their amount, and they click send. That's what this URL will do. So when the URL does that, they enter the card details, enter amounts, and they click pay. Flutterwave will deduct it from their amount and return them to this page that you added here. So when they return to this page, it will be coming with the transaction ID. So they will in turn send you that transaction ID you too, you send that transaction ID to Flutterwave. Flutterwave will then confirm that transaction was successful. Shikina, that's everything has finished. So I'm looking for where, yeah, this is how to validate transaction, but it's different here because we are using a package. This is using a package, but I was thinking there's another way to just use the URL, the endpoint name. But this is it. You're just getting a transaction reference, which is here. Transaction reference or transaction ID, whatever it is called. You are just sending it back to them to confirm that transaction was successful. If it was successful, they will return successful. If it was not, they will return is not. And whatever they return, you also package it like that and you send it to the front end. So you are not doing anything. Where you are doing work is in this project, this delivery. That's where you are doing work. You are interacting with your database. And as a matter of fact, you don't even have to save these transactions to your database. You don't have to. Because every transaction you perform will be saved on Flutterwave or Paystack database, any of the payment gateway, to be saved on their database. You can always go back and get all transactions, or maybe get all transactions by a specific email. That will be the user's email, like that, because email is compulsory. So you don't even have to save these transaction details to your database, but you can if you want to. You can always save them to your database if you want to. So that is how to implement payment gateway. There is no big issue. Whether it's Pay Express, there's another one called Pay Express. There are so many of them. They follow the same format. The same format to implement. You are not doing any work as a implementing payment gateway. Project 4, Project 4, that is, I think there's a part where if you have the time, if you're able to conclude early enough, you can always visit that part. Project 4 is a fitness tracker. Which part is optional? Progress tracking, yeah. So implement a system for tracking users' progress over time. Details is create a schema that will have each user ID, their date, their weight, their body, their measurement, and their workout. So simply what you are doing here is performing CRUD. How it becomes a tracking system is this. The date and their weight will not be the same. So if the person starts workout today, they should create they should add the date and the weight for that day. If they continue tomorrow, they add the date and the weight. So by next week, they are also adding every day. When it gets to 1 month, it becomes a tracking system. Now they have a record of what their weight was last week and what their weight was this week. So that's what the progress tracking means. It's not much of a big deal. You're just tracking your weight last week. And if you want to help them extra, you can add one endpoint that is just going to check all the progress and check which one is the minimum and which one is the maximum, like the bigger and the smallest number of weight, to see whether they are actually losing weight and what their progress is. So it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, do we have any question so far? Any question on what we've talked about? I don't think there's anything much that I'll teach you now. I've actually pretty much introduced you to backend. Every other thing, there's a lot to learn, but you don't have to kill yourself over it. You start with the ones you know. There's no project that will be given to you and you will know everything. No, you will not. You definitely start with the ones you know, and for every time you keep working or looking at people's code or looking at problems, seeing what people are thinking about, what they want to build, how they want to build it, you'll be learning. Now, most times you don't even learn by actually coding it. Some people believe that I have to code it to know it. No, there are persons that will look at these things And then they'll feel like, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. And that's it. They've learned it. You've seen the processes involved. This is how you do it. It moves from here to here, from here to here. And that's what algorithm is, where it starts and where it ends. So the moment you understand the algorithms of any software, automatically you know how to build it if you're a good backend developer. Once you just understand the algorithms, it starts from here, it moves to here, and it moves like that. You already know how to build it like that. So you just look at application, see how it's done, understand what they are solving and what they are doing. You're done with it. Now, it looks like I'm the only one actually talking, and every other person is just quiet. Please drop a thumbs up if you're actually following what I'm saying. Please drop a thumbs up if you're actually following anything I said. All right. So there is nothing much to teach you today. I was hoping that people who are building their project will have questions, but looks like you all understand the project. So, what else is that good? There is something called sockets. It's an advanced topic when it comes to backend. Sockets. Yeah, ask your question. Ask your question. Yeah, the mic is open to everybody. Just unmute yourself and go ahead. The mic is open to everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, go.
This I want to ask, because after sending us our project, our different project, there is another assignment you drop. Please, I want to ask if we should do that one to separate, or is for special people, because you call some people that day that way to do a particular project.
The thing is, the project here, I didn't want to involve everybody because I was thinking people will be busy. So I called some persons that I know that they are likely going to be able to finish up the project. And then I added this one to it. So it's not compulsory that everybody will do this. No, I added this to people so that people I know, it may not really be too much of a burden. They'll be able to finish their normal project and they will still come again and do this project.
Okay, sir.
So, yeah, but the project is pretty straightforward. It's just one endpoint. Yeah, it's just one endpoint. What you are doing is you are accepting the user's email and their token, validate their token, find them on the database, and send them an email. When you send an email, and then you come back and generate a certificate and also send to their email. That's it. So, but if it's going to be too much on you, you can as well leave it.
Okay,
You
sir.
can leave it. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I was going to explain sockets. I was going to explain socket and what it is used. It's an advanced topic. What socket does is for real-time data. Real-time data. So with what we have as our REST API, where is it? As our REST API, we are sending back responses. Here we are sending back responses. Now, if you've worked with front end, you understand that this response, when it goes to the front end, the user has to refresh. If the user is currently on that page, they have to refresh before they see this. But with Socket, they don't have to refresh. That's where chat comes in. If you are chatting with Facebook, you don't have to refresh the message. So while they are sending this response with normal response, they will also send it to Socket, two of them. So you are sending it with the normal response, and you are sending it with the Socket. Now, Socket is used if you want to build a chat application where you are chatting with the user, and the user is currently waiting for your response. So they are now waiting. Nutritional Plan Management Project 4. Nutritional management doesn't have much attached to it. All you are doing is you're implementing a system to manage user meals or their plan. So if the user plans to eat egg in the morning, egg bread in the afternoon, fish pie in the night, that's what this nutritional plan is. So you are creating the name of the meal they want, the ingredients in it, and then any other informations like nutritional information, maybe the calories it contains, the proteins it contains, the carbs it contains, the fat it contains, and the user ID. So this user wants to eat, it eats what is it called, egg, and egg contains so and so protein, so and so nutrients, so and so stuff. You've created the CRUD for that one. You create another CRUD for another meal. So for all the meals the user wants to take, you can actually attach a date or maybe a time. Maybe it's in the morning, in the afternoon, or it's by 8 a.m. or it's by 10 p.m. So you're just creating different meal plans with the name of the meal, the ingredients in it, the nutritional information, the calories it contains, the carbs, the fat, and including the user's ID. That's what associated user means here, the user ID. So we should be able to track their daily meals. So if we want to get the meals they eat in the morning, you should have a key here, maybe the date or time. So we can get their meals in the morning, meals in the afternoon, meals in the night. You can also attach dates. So we then know the meal they ate on September 15th morning. We also know the meal they ate September 19th afternoon, just like that. So that's what this meal nutrition plan is all about. I don't know if that cleared your question or you have another question. So, but pretty much they are straightforward. Not much. So, do we have any other question? Please ask your question. Or ask me anything. Anything. I remember the first time I wanted to learn computer, because then in my primary school I was very intelligent, and then I moved to secondary school JSS 1. When I entered JSS 1, I was also intelligent, and then our mathematics teacher then said anybody that comes first is going to teach the person computer, how to operate computer. And me, I've never seen computer then I haven't seen computer when I was in JS 1. So I came first. He said, okay, I've gotten the scholarship to learn computer. I'll go to his house and he'll teach me computer. I went there. He opened laptop and he opened Microsoft Word. I said, no, this is not what I want to learn. I didn't tell him that, but I knew within me that this is not what I want to learn. So after that first day, I did not go back to his house again. The second day, I came across a center where they are learning computer, and I went there. They say it's open for anybody that wants to come and learn. They'll come in my community. It's open that you can come and learn. So I went there. They opened Microsoft Word again. I said, no. This is not what I want to learn. I asked the instructors, the two of them, please, can you teach me how to use this computer and communicate with somebody abroad? That is the only thing I want to learn now. So you have the opportunity to learn. You can be like me. You look like, no. This is not what I want to learn now. See the exact part where I want to, although there's no more time, but at least I can point in the right direction. I usually give students that opportunity of, some persons come with expectation. This is exactly what I want to learn. You tell me this is what you want to learn now. To commit to code, to commit your codes, that is after you have pushed the first time. After you've pushed the first time, the second time is simple. You want to do git add dot to add everything. That's the first step. The second step, you want to do git commit to commit everything. Then the last step is to push to your branch. Now, if it's a master branch, then you leave it as master. If it's a main branch, you change it to main. That's how you push. So the socket.io is like a different topic. If you want to return a response, like if you are building an application that require real-time data, for example, a chat system where you are chatting, people are chatting, like Facebook Messenger, like that. Now, you can actually return your responses the normal RESTful API way. It will work this way. But most times, you know that when people are chatting, one person is currently waiting for the response, another person is waiting for the response. So returning data in real time, that's what Socket does for you. So in Socket, we call it emitting data. So you just need to learn how to emit data. Now let's assume that the response you want to send back is this user, or you want to send back this token, or you want to send back message successful, or you want to send back all of them as an object. So what you want to do with Socket is how to emit this data. That's all. So you only need Socket when you are doing real-time information. For example, the voting system that was going to be used in the US uses Socket. Like as you are clicking vote in your house, or wherever you are voting, they are seeing it on the screen immediately. It is adding numbers. The numbers are increasing real time. So in that case, you can actually return response, but response, it might take maybe a few seconds, or maybe a refresh, or maybe the person will come back again and see it. But with Socket, if you emit with Socket, whether the person is currently logged in and that page is open, it will just show up there. You are emitting it. Okay, South Africa is something like that. Well, that's nice. Nigeria, I don't know when we're going to get to that point, but that's what Socket does. You want to emit data real time. The person doesn't need to refresh. So as a backend, when you are sending response back, you should also be sending. Now, if I have sockets installed, I will say something like io.emit. No, if I have it installed, but I haven't installed it, I'll say io.emit. And then the key I want to use to emit it, I will call it maybe response, or call it anything, response message. And then here I will emit the object, or maybe anything I want to emit, like this. So now the front end is going to see that I'm sending a response and I'm also emitting that response. So it depends on how the front end wants to use it. You want to show it up immediately. If it's needed immediately, you catch it with this key. But if it's not needed immediately, of course, this still works. So that is what socket does for you. Sending data, emitting data, real time. But it's not a big deal. You can always catch it up. All you want to just know is how to emit data. But of course, you need to know how to set up the server with HTTP. It's not hard. It's not hard. All of it, you can pick it up with one documentation. Actually, you don't even need one documentation. Just how to emit with socket.io. Yeah, socket connection on, blah, blah, blah. And if I go with socket documentation or which other, will I, now, Flutter, what's it called? Stack Overflow may not give me that. So, but there are so many documentation on how to do that. The most important thing is understanding your back end. So for here now, on connection, you are emitting hello, hello. The key here is hello, and the other one is the word. So you're emitting word, and the key is this. So socket.emit. But you don't need to worry about this for now. All you need to do is learn how to build your backend first and return data first. You know how to return data. Now, if you find yourself in a company where you're expected to use sockets, now even if you don't, you can actually look at it at your own convenience, how to emit data instead of just returning as a response. So there are so many ways to emit data, so many ways, but it's just pretty straightforward. It's not a big deal. You can always catch it up. But the most important thing is you know when it's needed. So if you attend an interview or anywhere, they ask you, can you do this real time? When they use that keyword, real time, what they are talking about is socket. Now, most times they don't know it. Yes, the people who will be interviewing you, they have no idea. They just believe that it's real time, real time. So, but you as a backend, you know that they are talking about emitting data. So when they tell you that, you go ahead and tell them, yes, I know how to return data real time. And that is done with sockets.io. Believe me, when you tell them how it's done and what we used in doing it, they give you the job. Because even they have no idea what it is, but they just know that it's socket. No. Dashboard doesn't use sockets. We are now, except for that dashboard, it accepts data real time. But now, in the part of the dashboard where it will be using socket will be if there is support. Support, you have to chat with the user. So if you are chatting with the user on the dashboard, then that uses sockets. Sockets is just for real time. Now, if you're not doing real time, you have absolutely no need to use real-time data on dashboard. When I mean real-time data, I don't mean that analytics on dashboard where you see analytics. No, that's not what I mean real-time. That one is normal data. Even though they call it real-time, it is normal data. Real-time means I send you a message. The way you are sending me this message now, my Telegram is open and it is coming here. What you are performing is CRUD. You are performing CRUD and the response is being returned. Now, I'm not refreshing my page. So your message is coming in here real time. That's the type of real time I mean. Not the one that shows us on dashboard. That's the normal response. The normal real time, like you send a message, the person is seeing it immediately. Or you want to call, video call or voice call. In that area, you can use WebRTC like that. So that's the real time I mean, like live. I think that's live, like that. So that's for it. Well, you don't have to, but it's good you know what it is. So that if you attend an interview, they say we want data real time and stuff, you tell them, yes, you can do it, and this is what we use in doing it. Now, even if you don't know how to do it yet, but you know what is used in doing it, you can always do it. So One last thing is that as a developer, your backend can crash anytime. Your backend can crash anytime. Now, sometimes it may be your fault, sometimes it may not be your fault for different reasons. So you need to learn how to read logs. Logs mean things that are happening on the server. You need to know, okay, this person made a request so and so time, this one happened, that one happened. Let me just open this an example of a back end. This is CareerEX back end, and there's a log here. So these are logs. Now I don't know if I zoom in, if you'll be able to see it. Yeah, these are logs on my back end telling me that why is it not telling me that at September 14th, 12:43, 23 p.m., somebody made a post request to API/reset password, and it returned with a status code of 401. Again, it happened to get all classes, passing a page of 1, and it returned 304. So this is log. This is what we call log. And at a point, the server started redeploying again, and then it is using this Node version 20 as the default. And then at this point, MongoDB connected and the server is running. So this is what we mean by log. You should be able to know what is going on the back end, like who made the request. Not like you may not know who, but you should know that something is happening on the back end. There's requests being made and stuff being. My screen is not showing. Are you serious? So I'll stop sharing and share again. All right, you should see my screen now. So what I was explaining is that if you look at this, this is a backend deployed CareerEX server like that. So here you can see that September 14th, 12 p.m. like this, a request was made to this endpoint reset password, and the status code was 401, meaning it was not successful because it was not authorized. Then here the person made another get request to API classes to get pages, page 1 of all the classes, and it returned 304, meaning I have done this before. Why are you asking me again? I can just send you back the old one. So here is another one to reset password. Reset password was unsuccessful so many times. So this is what it means by log. You also see that the server started redeploying for some reason. Because it's a free server, it can start, it can stop at any time. It started redeploying again by that same 2 p.m. And then as at 12 p.m., this number of seconds, it started running Node index.js, and then MongoDB was connected, and then what's it called again? The port started listening on port 8080, and later your service was live again. The person made a get request to this endpoint, the / endpoint, and it returned 404, meaning not found. So the server status code is 404. So this is what we mean by logs. Sometimes you may not be around. You may be working remotely, and then they ask you what is going on the server. Did you see anything? Is there any activity? Is anything going on? The only way you will know is you come to the logs and you see that requests are being made. This is happening, that is happening. Now this is a simple log. At this point, you can't really tell who's doing anything or who's not doing anything. You can't tell. So there are other deeper logs, but you don't need to bother about them. These other logs, if you want to, you can use something we call Morgan. Morgan is a middleware to read your logs. So what I'll just say is npm I Morgan. I know this is somebody's name. Install Morgan. npm I Morgan. Now, if you install Morgan, Morgan will help you to log requests. I need to use sudo. So Morgan will give you an idea of what logs are. So you come here the same way you did for cons. You say const Morgan is equal to require Morgan. And then down here you say app.use Morgan and invoke Morgan. That is all. So if I make a request now to /send and come to my endpoint, now you see here I am seeing a log. I'm getting a log here. So Saturday, 14 September 2024, and at this time there was a GET request to /API /example, and the status code was 200 successful from Postman runtime, and this version like that. So this is like if I make another request, maybe EEE and send, I get another log here, and it says this is the endpoint here, but this time it was actually successful 200. And the reason why it is successful is because we have a route that handles any route we did not create, like this. So if anything goes wrong, you understand what it is. If I attach arrow and send, I still get the log like that. So this is what logs are. It tells you what is going on your server, the activities that are happening, who's making requests, the number of requests you are getting per day, per minute, per second, and so on and so forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, do we have any other question, or should we end it here? We have only 14 persons on this call. That is it because of the project that we dropped, or today is not a good day? Yeah. Do we have any question, or are we okay to end it here? If there's no question and you're okay to end the class here, you can actually drop a thumbs up, because I want you to go work on your project. There's not much to feature you at this point. Yeah, you just need to deliver your project. All right. So for those who have not submitted anything, please just drop something. It is very important that you drop something. That is how I know that you're a participant in this project. Yes, app.use. Yeah, for Morgan, because it's a middleware. Morgan, so all middlewares will be app.use, 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 and you are invoking the package inside this thing here, like that. You're invoking the package inside the code. Open source. Do you have an idea of the maybe if I am able to find one, we'll look at it. If we don't find any tomorrow, any other day, we'll find another one. We're going to look at it then. But if you have an idea of an open source you want to look at, we can. All right. Bye, and see you all tomorrow. I don't even know what I'll teach you tomorrow, but let's say I'll see you tomorrow. We contribute, for open source. Open source is simply you check out any project, whether it's a big one, whether it's a small one, that is labeled open source. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow then. Bye. See you all tomorrow. Bye.